neural network connection.
Good. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'du. So tonight we're going to start, as the class title says, Stop Wasting Time. But the book is not titled, that's not the title of the book. But the discussion of the book is related to taking advantage of your time, and specifically taking advantage of a specific time in our lives. And hopefully, inshallah, hopefully we leave this class and we change some things in our lives, hopefully. That we take it upon ourselves to change some things in our schedule if we're not already doing what we should be doing or doing what we think we could be doing. Inshallah. And the title of the book is Min Wasaya Salaf Lishabab. Some advice from the Salaf to the Shabab. And the Shabab, does anybody know what the Shabab is? Yes. Youth. The youth. The Shabab is translated as the youth. The youth. So when we think about youth, when we think about what age?
Anybody under 40?
Anybody under 40. Starting from any under 40, so that's a lot of people.
Starting from when a person becomes responsible, color?
Bad, but starting with a person reaches puberty. Like, in English, if we say youth in English, right, then who do we generally address?
Children.
Children. But the word shabab is not necessarily in Arabic, it's not restricted to kids, it's not restricted to teenagers. So the things found in this book, narrations and stuff like that, they're not restricted to children only, so that we say this is only for the children. But they're included. The kids that have reached puberty, they're also included, and they're from the shabab. But it's not like everybody has to be a child in order to benefit from these narrations in this book. Secondly, what is the importance of relaying advice from, firstly, who are the Salaf, number one? Who are the Salaf, and how do we know who the Salaf are? Because the title of the book is from the advice from the Salaf to the, as we say, the youth. But the youth doesn't stop with teenagers. Islamically, the age of youth runs up to 40. And some say longer than that. Some say past 40. So now we're taking advice from the Salaf. Number one, who are the Salaf? That's a question.
You answer that question?
Yes. Hold on. Mm-hmm.
The Salaf is the Messenger of Allah sallallahu. The Salaf or the Salaf period or the Salaf era? Do I have to be specific?
I'll give you my question and you give me your answer. Who are the Salaf?
The Salaf are the Messenger of Allah sallallahu and his companions.
Right. Anybody else? Salaf.
The companions, their students, and the students of the student, the three generations that follow after the Prophet during the time.
Right. So three virtuous generations. Salaf, man. Huh? No, you already answered. You answered.
I want to add on.
No. That ain't a pen. Huh? You want to add one? Like,
Yeah. The Salaf is the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his companions, the students of the companions, the students of the companions, and all of those scholars that traverse their path
after them.
after.
طيب. Salaf, well, the Arabic word from number one, the people, something that passed, people that came before us. And there's a discussion on who they are, but generally, the Sahaba, those who came after the Sahaba, and all of those who practiced like they practiced, whoever followed them in ihsan, whoever practiced like they practiced after them, which means 800 years after the Sahaba, 600, 700 years after the Sahaba. In our day, we still refer to the Salaf, people from the time of Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, Ibn Qayyim, rahimahullah, Ibn Kathir, right? The other scholars of the Sunnah that came before our time. It doesn't necessarily mean that they had to be 700 years ago. Not necessarily, right? But starting with the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and then their students, and then their students after them, and everybody who followed them. Now, what makes the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, what makes them so important? What makes their students important? What makes the students of their students important?
What makes the Sahaba important is that they was there when the revelation was descending. And the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he had the opportunity to say, this is correct, that's not correct. And he had an opportunity to make sure that their Islam was sound.
Keep on, I'm listening.
And then their students had the benefit of them because they had them on the scene. And then likewise for those students, and as time went on, it began to decrease.
J.
Allah highlighted them inside the Quran.
Highlighted who?
The Sahaba.
The Sahaba. Tayyib. Tayyib. The companions. Okay.
But it's like the same thing, like they believed in Allah Azza wa Jalla, they believed in the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they died in no doubt.
Tayyib. What makes, that's good for the Sahaba, what makes those who came after the Sahaba important? Because the whole book is based on narrations from the Salaf. So why is what the Salaf say, wow, what makes them important for us to gather a whole book, right? There are hadith in the book, right? But most of the book are not hadith of the Prophet. They're advice, it's advice from the generations after or the Prophet.
One of the things that I had learned was that one of the reasons why the Messenger of Allah said that follow my sunnah and the sunnah of my companions. He said because, the Sheikh said because he knew that they would live longer than he would, and they would preserve it. And so their teachings.
I'm with you.
So their teachings remain pure. So it's everybody who stuck to that methodology and that way of teaching and that way of learning and that way of believing. That's why the Salaf is important.
They understood Islam from the companions who learned from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So they had a direct connection.
Right.
There was no reaching the connection.
Jay. And then their students did the same. And everybody who stuck to that way and those teachings that came after them down the line. So initially, of course, the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ قَرْنِي, that the best of the people are those of my generation. ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُمْ. Then those who came after them, the next best generation, the Tabi'een. And then those who came after them, that bad Tabi'een. Those three generations, as they call the virtuous generations, that the Prophet ﷺ testified to them for their greatness regarding the religion, number one. And then after that, everything that y'all said. But we have a clear text from the Prophet ﷺ stating why the statements of the Sahaba, why the statements of the Tabi'een, and those that came after them, likewise going down the line, time-wise. So this is a book by Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, Hafidahullah, and hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, it's a reminder for us all, because these athar, these narrations are something that if we're not in our teens or in our 20s, we shouldn't think that it doesn't apply to me, I'm not from the youth. We're not using the word youth in the English sense. The shabab in the Arabic sense, Islamically in the Arabic language, extends, the time period extends, as we said, up to the age of 40, and some say past 40. And some of the things that he mentions are obvious, but sometimes things are obvious, but we don't even think about them. So he says, after praising Allah Jalla wa Ala, after Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu sallallahu وسلم عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ما بعد فلا يخفى أن مرحلة الشباب مرحلة مهمة جدا في حياة الإنسان. He describes it first, and he says there's no secret, and he describes it as a stage, that the stage in life that is described as the shabab, as a person being young, right? That this is a stage that is very important in a person's life. And without reading anything, we already know the importance of getting ahead early in life and getting a head start and all those kind of things, right? So some of these things, it may sound like it's obvious, but sometimes you need to hear Ahlul Ilm, you need to hear people of knowledge, Allahu A'lam, the sight, right? A person's sight, their eyes get weaker as they get older, right? Their hearing gets weaker. But in the earlier days, all of those things that we can say are at their peak, they're at their strongest point. And he says the obvious again, بينما إذا كبر الإنسان تضعف منه حواسه وقواه. He says, knowing at the same time, once a person ages, that those things become weaker. The limbs become weaker, the senses become weaker, and these are things that are obvious. So he's mentioning this stuff to get to a point. He says, وَقَدْ أَوْلَى الإسلام هذه المرحلة اهتماما خاصا رعاية عظيمة. Islam gave a high importance and serious importance to this time period. The time of a person's youth. We gotta stop thinking youth doesn't mean a teenager only. It's not just for teenagers, right? When a person are in their younger years, Islam gave a high importance to this time period. وجاءت النصوص مؤكدة على عظم شأن هذه المرحلة وأهميتها. Their text from the Prophet ﷺ that show how important this specific time of a person's life is. He says, وَقَدْ حَثَّ نَبِيُّنَا صلى الله عليه وسلم على العبادة على المبادرة لاغتنامها والهذر من إضاعتها. The Prophet ﷺ, he encouraged us to rush, to take, or to give this time period some importance, and he warned us from wasting this time of our lives, this portion of our lives. He warned us from wasting these days and those years of our lives on our youth when we're much stronger. All the things that he just mentioned, when we're at our peak physically, health-wise, he warned us from wasting those years. He says, عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لرجل وهو يعظه. Ibn Abbas reported a hadith where the Messenger ﷺ, he was advising a man, it says a man. He was advising a man, طيب, he said, اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. He said, take care of 5 things before 5 other things come. Take care of 5 things before 5 other things come. Shababak qabla haramik. Take care of your youthful years before you reach your older years. وَصِحَّتَكْ قَبْلَ سَقَمِكْ. And take care of your health. Take care of your health. Be diligent while you're healthy. Do what you need to take care of while you're healthy before you're sick. And you're not able to do what you wish you could do when you were healthy. وَغِنَاءْ قَبْلَ ثَقْرِكْ. And take care of your wealth, how you spend your wealth before you may be put in a situation where you don't have what you used to have. You don't have for money what you used to have for money. You can't spend like you used to spend. Don't be wasteful, and then a time comes and you're wasting money, and then a time comes where you're not able to waste money if you wanted to. وَفَرَاغَكَ قَبْلَ شُغْلِكَ. And take care, be diligent with your free time before you become busy. Before you become busy. This is a hadith we heard before. And he says, وَحَيَاتَكَ قَبْلَ مَوْتِكَ. And take care of your life before your death. Now, the question is, if we say your youthful years, is that part of your life? The youthful years are part of your life. طيب. Number one, the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith, take care of 5 things before 5. He said, take care of your youth before your old age. And then at the end, he said, take care of your life before your death. Which in reality is what? The youthful years are included in your life. So what's the benefit of mentioning your youthful years when you already mentioned, the life is already mentioned, and it's already included in there? Emphasize what? The importance of taking care of and being diligent in those years when you have your strength. Right? Your whole life, in your life is included those younger years. But the fact that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned specifically those younger years, this shows that this is an important time. It shows that it's an important time. It says also, the man that he was speaking to was younger or older? Younger? Younger than him. Maybe. Was the man younger or older? Was he in his younger years or his older years? And is there any way to be able to tell from this narration? Yes.
When he uses rajula,
But
it means man, right?
literally, yes.
So that don't mean, that doesn't knock off youth.
Not necessarily.
So he wouldn't say yashubah.
He could, but he doesn't have to.
Right.
Okay.
This might not be right.
Mhm.
Being ended with take care of your whole life before death.
Mhm.
This is how you miss the person. It might be telling to an older gentleman. Older man.
As Sheikh Abdul Razak explained, the fact that he said to the man, Shababak, your youth, shows that the man was young. He said to the man, take care of your youth, your youthful years, before your older years come. So this shows that the man that he was talking to was in that time period of being from the Shabab, in his youthful years. طيب. He says, so the fact that the Prophet ﷺ specified that time of a person's life to take care of, along with the fact that he mentioned a person's whole life, this shows the importance of the youthful years and taking advantage of them and not wasting them. He says, فَيَنْبَغِي التَّيَقُّظُ لِذَلِكَ وَعَدْمَ التَّهَاوُنْ بِهَا. So it's not appropriate for us to be negligent of taking advantage of the time that we have, and take advantage of our health, and taking advantage of the wealth or the money that we have, that we can't take stuff for granted. And this is stuff we always say. This is stuff that is normal kalam. It's normal stuff. Don't take stuff for granted. But hopefully we leave, inshallah, these classes and we finish this, and we literally, hopefully, inshallah, that we change some things in our lives if we have to. If we have to change things in our daily schedules to make sure that we're benefiting, then hopefully we take it upon ourselves to do that and not just bypass these statements and narrations and this advice, as this was just something nice to listen to. طيب, there's another narration عن ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا تزول قدم ابن آدم يوم القيامة من عند ربه حتى يسأل عن خمس. It says that there is no person will be able to move يوم القيامة until they're asked about five things. First one says عن عمره فيما أفناه, his life and how he spent his life. طيب, وعن شبابه فيما أبلاه, and on his youthful years also, what did he do, or what did she do in her time of youth? وَمَالِهِ مِنْ أَيْنَ اكْتَسَبَهُ, and on their wealth, where, and how did they receive their wealth, their sustenance? How did they make their money? وَفِيمَ أَنْفَقَهُ, and how did they spend their money? وَمَاذَا عَمِلَ فِيمَ عَلِمَ, and also, what did they do with, what did a person do with the knowledge that they gained? What did a person do with the knowledge that they gained? And he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that a person will not move Yawm al-Qiyamah until they're asked about these five things. And again, he said, the Prophet ﷺ said, a person's life, which includes the younger years, and at the same time, he mentioned specifically a person's youth, the youthful years of a person's life, which again shows the importance. Clear? Everybody clear? How that happens? In both of those narrations, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned a person's life in general, and then he mentioned specifically a person's youthful years. So Sheikh Abdul Razak says here that there are two questions. He says, أخبر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن المرء يسأل يوم القيامة عن حياته بسؤالين, that a person will be asked two questions about his life or her life on the Day of Judgment. Two questions about a person's life, they will be asked on the Day of Judgment. The first one, a general question on their life. Umuman, what did a person do with their life from the beginning to the end? Min awwaliha ila akhiriha. That's the first question. And the second question we will all be asked about, an marhalat ash-shabab khususan. On our younger years, all of us will be asked, what do we do with our younger years specifically? And this is mentioned even though those younger years are mentioned along or are included in a person's life. It says, لَكِنَّهُ يُسْأَلْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ عَنْهَا سُؤَالًا خَاص, that we will be asked specifically about our younger years. He says, and this shows, وَلِهَذَا يَنْبَغِي عَلَى الشَّابِ أَنْ يَتَنَبَّهَ لِأَهَمِّيَةِ هَذِهِ الْمَرْحَلَةِ. He said we have to pay attention to make sure that, and we give importance, and we understand the importance of our younger years. And again, that doesn't restrict, the younger years are not restricted to youth. When a person says shabab, is not restricted to teenagers. The age is not restricted to teenagers. So many parents, a lot of the parents fall into the category of being from the shabab. Even though we may have children, a lot of us fall under the advice or the category of being from the youth. طيب. He says, وَيَتَذَكَّرَ دَائِمًا أَنَّ رَبَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ سَيَسْأَلُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ مَاذَا عَمِلَ فِيهَا. We have to always remember that Allah is going to ask us all specifically about what did we do in our younger years. What were we busy doing in our younger years when we had the strength, when we had all of our senses, when we were mobile, we were able to move around, we had the ability to do this and to do that. What did we do? He says, إضافة إلى السؤال عن عمله في عمره كله المتضمن لمرحلة الشباب. Even though we're going to be asked in general about our whole life, that there's a specific question regarding our lives when we were in our younger, stronger, the younger, stronger time of our lives. He says this because, again, this is the marhalatul quwwah, is when a person is strong and active. He says, وَيُسْلِ الْحَرَكَةِ, and a person has the ease, it's easy to move around. And a person, their limbs, قُوَّةُ الْأَعْضَاء, that a person has, their body in general is stronger. And again, with timal al-hawas, and again, that a person's senses are all there, that a person hasn't weakened at all. That a person is at their peak. That a person is at their peak in these stages, so we have to give a serious importance to it. He says, and this is why حث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الشباب كما في الحديث السابق على اغتنام هذه المرأة اغتناما عظيما. And this is why the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم encouraged the shabab, the people in their younger age, that younger time period of our lives, to take advantage of that time. To take advantage of that time. And that has a lot of different ways that it could look, what it could look like. He says, وَأَوْصَى عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ أَيْضًا أَهْلَ الْعِلْمِ الْمُعْتَنِينَ بِالتَّرْبِيَةِ وَالدَّعْوَةِ وَالتَّعْلِيمِ لِلشَّبَابِ. He said, and the Prophet ﷺ, he also commanded and instructed the people of knowledge, Ahlul Ilm. Those people who are busy, the people of knowledge, the people who are busy with da'wah, the people who are busy with teaching people and calling, he commanded them to give some importance to and give attention to the youth. To the youth. And the youth, I know it might sound like we're talking about kids, but we're not, a lot of us are not excluded from that word, youth. He says, why did the Prophet ﷺ instruct the people of knowledge to give attention to the youth? لأن الشباب يحتاج إلى عناية وملاطفة. And this is for the people who may be older. The youth are in need of guidance, and people being gentle with them, and people giving them attention. And we already know this, but we know it maybe from another angle. Right? We know. We have old heads. You say old heads, they used to tell us how to do it and how not to do stuff, right? Sorry. Old heads, people older, and they tell you basically, no, don't do it like that, you do it like this. Right? No, yeah, if you do it like that, you're going to have a problem. If you do it like that, this is what happens. So, the Prophet ﷺ, of course, understood this. Therefore, he directed and instructed the people of knowledge to make sure that they give attention to the shabab also, those in their younger years also. He says they're in need of rifq, gentleness, wa tawaddud, love and gentleness, wa tahbiban, lahu fil khayr wa ahli. And they need to be encouraged. People need to be encouraged to have love for doing khayr, for doing good. That is nothing wrong, there's nothing aib, that nobody should be embarrassed or shy to do something that is going to get them a reward from Allah Jalla wa'ala, even if it may go against what is normal or the normal practice where they are. Because we don't put our customs before the Sharia, brothers and sisters, that what we're used to, if it conflicts and it goes against the revelation, the Quran and the Sunnah, then we put the Quran and the Sunnah first. He says so they also need to be guided to love Ahlul Khair, people who are righteous and people who do good, that we should be encouraging those each other, those younger than us, to love the people of khayr. Love people who are trying to practice Islam. طيب, he says, حتى لا يتخطفه أهل الباطل وأرباب المحرمات, so that they're not snatched up. We have to encourage them to love goodness so that they're not snatched up by the people of falsehood or people who are disobedient to Allah Jalla wa Ala, so that they fall into following and loving people who are sinners, people who are disobedient, right? Ignoring them and letting others come and give them attention. And when the others come and give them attention, they give them what? Da'wah along with it. They call them to something. So he says what? That they're in need of being directed and guided to goodness and the people of goodness, so that the other people of falsehood don't snatch them up and their love becomes attached to loving people who are disobedient to Allah Jalla wa Ala. He says, وَلِهَذَا, this is why the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum, the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, they understood this meaning as it came in a hadith of Abu Saajid al-Khudri, radiallahu anhu. They understood the importance. The Sahaba understood the importance of speaking to the youth and guiding those who were coming after them. And this is for the elders from us and those who are younger from us, that we have to take the initiative to be able to speak and talk when we see kids younger than us, or those younger than us who may just need direction. A lot of times we just walk by each other. We really don't show any type of care. We don't have a care in the world. If it doesn't affect my life, then I'm not even worried about it. But as we're going to see in these narrations, this is not what we've been left with from guidance from the Prophet ﷺ or those Sahaba, the Tabi'een, or the Imams of guidance that came after them. طيب. He said, Abu Saajid al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, أنه كان إذا رأى الشباب قال مرحبا بوصية رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. If Abu Saajid al-Khudri, if he saw one of the shabab, he would say, marhaban bi wasiyyati Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, ahlan, welcome. I'm going to give you some advice from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. He said, I'm going to tell you, awsana Rasulullahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam commanded us to do what? An nuwassi'a lakum fil majlis. The first thing that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us that when we see you all come to a sitting, and this is for the older ones, because we got something that we do. We have an approach towards, let's just say, kids, right? Let's just say nothing. And for example, if we all sitting here talking, and we don't know them, let's say we don't know them. Because if we know them, ahlan wa sahlan, they sit with us. But if we don't know them, and they come sit right in front of us, then what? Huh? No, I'm talking about we sitting like this having a conversation. And they come in and we don't know them and they sit right in there with the conversation. Huh? No, we don't know them. We don't know them. We don't got to read from us. I mean, here. Huh? We stop talking. We ain't going to speak to them. Might tell them to move. Y'all got to sit over there and talk. All right? That's realistic. طيب. Abu Saajid al-Khudri, he said, I'm going to give you some, or the Prophet ﷺ advised us with some things. He said, أَن نُوَسِّعَ لَكُمْ فِي الْمَجْلِسِ, that when we see you, that we should open up our sittings and let you sit down with us. We open up the gathering and let the youth sit in the gathering. He says, وَأَن نُفْهِمَكُمْ الْحَدِيثِ, and that we teach you the understanding of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? فَإِنَّكُمْ خُلُوفُنَا. He says, and this is what he told the young man, because you are khulufuna, he said. You are those who are going to be successors to us when we're not here. You all are going to take over when we're dead and gone. When we're old, if Allah gives us age and we're sitting in chairs and we can't do this and can't do that, then who's going to take over and teach the people and lead the salah and do everything that needs to be done? Therefore, he says, we were instructed that when you come, and this is what he used to say when he saw, as it says, أَنَّهُ كَانَ إِذَا رَأَى الشَّبَابِ. When he used to see the shabab, he used to say this to him. We were instructed by the Prophet ﷺ that if you came to a sitting, that we open up the sitting for you, that we teach you the hadith, because you all are the successors to us when we're not here. And the Shaykh Abdul Razak says that they're coming after us, as far as teaching the people and giving da'wah to Allah Jalla wa Ala. He says, وَأَهْلَ hadith بَعْدَنَا, and you will be for the people of hadith after us, after we're gone. وَكَانَ يُقْبِلْ عَلَى الشَّبَابِ فَيَقُولُ لَهُ يَا ابْنَ أَخِي. This is Ibn Mas'ud. That they gave importance to the youth that came in front of them. That we can't always flee them, as we say. Not all the time. Fadal.
Okay. When you finish the statement of وَأَحْلُ الْحَدِيثِ بَعْدَنَا,
Okay.
and then you went on, وَكَانَ يَقْبِلُ.
There you go.
How did you know that was Ibn Mas'ud?
Where? That's not Ibn Mas'ud.
You said Ibn Abbas.
Abu Saajid al-Khudri.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Abu Saajid. All of this is from Abu Saajid al-Khudri, this narration right here. Tayyib. It says Abu Saajid, he used to also, when he saw something from the Shabab, he used to say to him, Ya ibn Akhi, which is literally nephew. He used to call him nephew, right? Which does what for a person? It shows love. It shows that you care about them, especially if you don't know them. It's easier if you know people. If you don't know somebody that comes in here and you call them by a name that we might not say nephew, but we know terms that we use amongst each other, right? Where we're from, terms of endearment to show that you want to show some love for somebody. We might not say nephew, right? But this is the word that they use, right? The Arabs, they call each other, they might call somebody who's close, an uncle, and he might call him nephew, or the girl might call her aunt, right? Even we do that sometimes. People you grow up with real tight, they say, this is my aunt, when that's not really your aunt, or this is my cousin, that's not really your cousin, like that. But when we're talking to people that we don't know, we just say people off the street, we know that the terms that we can use in order to show them that we care and that we're trying to give them something. So he says, he would say that to him, Ya ibn Akhi, إِذَا شَكَكْتَ فِي شَيْءٍ فَسَلْنِي حَتَّى تَسْتَيْقِنَ. He said, if you have doubt about anything, then ask me about it and get clarity on it until you become clear on what you had a doubt about. Don't just walk around not knowing, having doubt about something. You got a question, don't want to ask. But number one, he opened up and told him, he invited him in. You got anything, any questions, you can come talk to me. If you got any doubt about something, come ask me. And don't leave until it's clear to you. He says, فَإِنَّكَ إِن تَنْصَرِفْ عَلَى الْيَقِينِ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِنْ أَن تَنْصَرِفْ عَلى الشَّكِّ. He said, it's more important and beloved to me that you leave from in front of me and you have certainty and you're clear about what you had doubt about than for you to leave in front of me, you to leave and you had doubt about what you were talking about. It's more beloved to me. I would hate to see you leave out of here with a misunderstanding. You leave out of here and you still got doubt about something. He said, ask me until you're clear about whatever the question was that you had. And all of this shows the importance and the inayah, the attention that they gave to the shabab. And again, it don't necessarily mean that they gotta be teenagers. It might be people that 10 years younger than us, like a lot of times are in here, 10 years younger than us, right? And sometimes people just need guidance and encouragement. They need guidance and encouragement. طيب. This last author is on Ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. It says that Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, that if he saw إذا رأى الشباب يطلبون العلم, if he saw some of the students of knowledge, some of the younger students of knowledge, that he would say to them, مرحبا بينابيع الحكمة ومصابيح الظلم. He would encourage them when he saw them, and he would say, welcome to, what are they doing? Number one, to labadin, they're seeking knowledge. So he would say, welcome to basically the masdar of hikmah. This is where hikmah, in wisdom comes from, learning. Right? In the light of dhulm, that light that will put out the darkness. That light, that's what knowledge does. Knowledge, as we say, if somebody does something and they knew and you didn't know, they had knowledge about something, you didn't have knowledge about it. And they used their knowledge to get ahead, and you weren't able to get ahead because you didn't have knowledge of it. Right? Once you find out that that person knew something that you didn't know and they didn't tell you, right? You knew that, you didn't say anything. What do we say? You out of pocket, no doubt. Or, who? You left me in the dark. So, you left me in the dark on that job. You knew, you had knowledge about whatever it was, but you left me in the dark. Right? Their ilm was the light that got them through the situation, made it easy for them to navigate. You knew the light, you had the light, you had the knowledge about it, but you left me in the dark. And that's what knowledge does. And until we recognize and understand that and take that serious, we're going to continue, or people are going to continue to have the same problems of being confused and not knowing. And he said this, but I don't see that when I go there. They're saying this, when I go there I don't see that, I don't understand. When I go there, all I hear is Quran and Sunnah, but they're saying this. It's going to continue to be like that until people learn. Until people take time out of their day to sit and learn, then they're going to continue to be confused. And it's going to continue to be frustrating. Because it's frustrating. Not knowing is frustrating. After a while, it's frustrating, it's confusing. So these are some of the things that they used to say. And he says in general, this entire book, he says that he took a bunch of narrations from the Salaf, showing their importance, the importance that they gave to those youthful years. And he says he put a small, not very detailed explanation on it, real light ta'liq explanation on it, as he says, ta'liqin yasirin ala kulli wasiyya. Every wasiyya, every piece of advice, he put a small explanation to it. So we'll read the first one, inshallah ta'ala, and then we'll start with that. As he says, al-wasiyyatu al-ula an Abi Ahwas, an Abi al-Ahwas قال Abu Ishaq وهو عامر ibn al-Sabiri. If there are any names here that we hear and we don't know, then we should, it's easy now. All you gotta do for real, is Google search a name and it's gonna come up and give you something. There's really no excuse for the level, and I'm talking about in Philadelphia specifically, for the level of ignorance, meaning the level of ignorance, the level of lack of knowledge, of people not knowing basic things, is really no excuse for us. I don't see personally, this is my personal opinion, I don't see an excuse for people living in this city for the ignorance to be so high, for people not to know basic things, and it's so high, not in this city. In another city maybe, but not in a city like this, with I don't know how many messages and how many people teaching. I don't know what the excuse is that a person could be comfortable standing before Allah, Yawm al-Qiyamah, not knowing basic things in Islam. when it's not like 20 years ago, or even 25, 30 years ago, when you had to have books in your house. If you didn't have books, you had to go to the library. Not like that, where everybody's on a smartphone, that we don't even use Google enough to find out anything, or only when it's convenient. The names that we hear, we're not going to do a biography of every name in here, but if we hear a name, then we should look at the name, try to find out who it is. It says, Amr al-Sabiri. It says, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab ightanimu ay shababakum. Allahu Akbar. He says, addressing those, the youth, he says, give importance and take care of your youthful days. He says, قَلَّمَا تُمُرُّ بِي لَيْلَةٌ إِلَّا وَأَقْرَى فِيهَا أَلْفْ آيَةٍ. He says, that is rare, قَلَّمَا تَمُرَّ بِي. It's rare that a night passes me. It's rare that a night passes and I don't read 1,000 ayat from the Quran. 1,000 ayat from the Quran. قَلَّمَا. Rare does a night pass and I don't read 1,000 ayat. Miskin. I don't understand. He says, وَإِنِّي لَأَقْرَأَ الْبَقَرَةَ فِي رَكْعَةٍ. He says, and I read Surah Al-Baqarah. Who is he talking to, number one? Who is he talking to? Huh? Hello. Who's the man talking to? It's important to know who he's talking to. That's Sabiri. That's who knows. He's there. He's telling me. He's talking to one of the Shabab. It doesn't say specifically. He's talking to somebody from the youth. He says, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab. He called them, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab. He got their attention. And then he told them what? Qallama. It's very rare that a night passes me by, that a night passes, I don't read 1,000 ayat from the Quran. And then he said, also, wa inni aqra. And I read Surah Al-Baqarah and one rak'ah. I read the whole Surah Al-Baqarah and one rak'ah. He says, wa inni la asumu ashhur al-hurum. And I fast during the sacred months. He says, when also I fast with ثلاثة أيام من كل شهر. And I fast 3 days from every month. He says, وَالْإِثْنَيْنِ وَالْخَمِيسِ. And I fast Mondays and Thursdays. He says, ثُمَّ تَلَا وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. And then he recited the ayah from Surah Al-Duha, where Allah says, and as far as the fadl, the virtue of your Lord, then speak about it. Let people know about the blessing that your Lord has given you. Ayah in the Quran, Surah Al-Duha. We scared. We went to the left. We scared to say anything khair that happens to us. We scared to say it because we think every time if somebody finds out something good, then what's going to happen? Dying. Everything is dying. We scared to say anything. وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. We don't fear the ayn, brothers and sisters. We're not in fear of the ayn.
So, when the brother was talking to him, he mentioned the ayat at the end, he said that.
That's what he recited. That's what he recited to him.
I know, but that's why.
He told him all of the things. That's a ni'mah. That's tawfiq from Allah to be able to do that. That's Allah blessing somebody to be able to every night read 1,000 ayat from the Quran. Fasting all of those days, that's a ni'mah from Allah. Everybody's not able. Everybody doesn't have that virtue. Allah doesn't give that to everyone. So the fact that Allah gave him that, he said to the man, he recited the ayat, right, from Surah Al-Duha. طيب. Shaykh Abdul Razak says, قَوْلُهُ أَقْرَأَ أَلْفْ آيَةٍ فِي اللَّيْلَةِ. The fact that he said he reads 1,000 ayats in every night, يُرَادُ بِهِ التَّقْرِيبِ لَا تَحْدِيدٍ. This is an estimation, not that he reads exactly 1,000 ayat, but it's an estimation. وَمَعْنَاهُ أَنَّهُ يَخْتِمِ الْقُرْآنِ فِي كُلِّ أُسْبُوعٍ مَرَّةٍ. He says, and this is a question now, how many ayat in the Quran? 6,000. More than 6,000. More than 6,000. Over 6,000 ayat in the Quran. If you read 1,000 ayat per night, it's not 7,000 ayat, man. 6,200 is straight. 6,200, something like that. So if you read 1,000 ayat per night, taqreeban, that means what? In 6 days, in 7 days, you can finish the Quran. And he says this is a general amat to Salaf. The practice of the Salaf is that they would finish the Quran like that. It wasn't just Ramadan. Their pattern, they would finish the Quran in a week. This is the norm. Many of them is the norm. Khatm al-Quran fi kulli usbu' marra. That they would finish the Quran at least once a week. At least once a week. So he said 1,000 verses, but it's not specific 1,000. Could have been a little more or a little less. But the point is that in a week's time, they finished the Quran. This is how they spent their time. He told the man this, and he's going to mention why. And this is the last narration on Amr ibn Maymun. أنه كان يلقى الرجل من إخوانه فيقول, that he met a man and he said to him, لقد رزقني الله البارحة من الصلاة كذا ورزق من الخير كذا. He said, last night Allah blessed me to pray such and such. Right? I was blessed to pray such and such. Y'all see that? It says كذا. Right? He didn't mention exactly what it was. And he also blessed me to be able to do such and such from good deeds. It's the same idea as the previous effort. So both of these narrations are recorded by Al-Hakim في المستدرك, in his book of Hadith Al-Mustadrak. It says, Al-Hakim said about him, the one who gathered these hadith, he said both of these narrations, he says, فَرَحِمَ اللَّهُ عَمْرُ ibn Ubayd, or ibn Ubaydillah al-Sabi'i, wa Amr ibn Maymun al-Odi. He said both of these people, what did they do? فَلَقَدْ نَبَّهَ لِمَا يُرَغِبُ الشَّبَابَ فِي الْعِبَادَةِ. They both mentioned those things to do what? Are they showing off? Why would you tell somebody that you read 1,000 ayahs from Quran per night? And that you read Baqarah in one ayah? What's the benefit of telling somebody that from the youth? As an encouragement. As an encouragement that they should strive to do the same. That they should strive to do the same. He says, and this is what Al-Hakim rahimahullah said, that they mentioned something that would encourage the youth to increase in worship. And that's why those things were mentioned. And then Shaykh Abdul Razak says, فَفِي الْأَثَرَيْنِ أَيْضًا التَّرْبِيَةِ بِالْقُدْوَةِ. Also, the two narrations show teaching, not just by talking, but teaching by example. That they did it. Not you should try to read. No. He said, I read. It's very rare that a night passes me that I don't read 1,000 ayahs per night. I do it. Which is an encouragement to the youth that I'm not just telling you to do it, but it's just something that I do myself. He says, فَالشَّبَابِ يَحْتَاجُ إِلَى هَذَا الْمَقَامِ حَتَّى يَنْشَطَ وَيَسْهُلْ عَلَيْهِ الْإِمْتِثَالِ. He said the younger, the youth, they're in need of this so that it's easier for them to practice these things and that they see and that they become more active and that they see that people are doing it. And then he also puts a ta'liq here to show وَلَكِنْ يَنْبَغِي لِلْمُعَلِّمِ أَنْ يَتَنَبَّهَ إِلَى حُسْنِ نِيَّتِهِ وَقَصْدِهِ. But a person also has to teach them that they have to be sincere when they do these things. And it's not just to tell people you do it, but it's worship for Allah Jalla wa Ala. And so a person's intention has to be sincerely for Allah. When they're reading, praying, fasting, whatever they're doing, that the intention has to be that the reward is from Allah. حَتَّى لَا يَقَعْ فِي الرِّيَاءِ. And that, so that they don't end up falling into riyah, showing off, worshiping Allah because people are looking at them, or to be praised, so that they don't fall into riyah, which would invalidate that action. And we'll stop there for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. And if there are any questions, we'll take them before we pray. Allah increases and make us better, and make us people who are busy benefiting and don't waste our own time, let alone let other people waste their time, because we don't have that long. We don't have that long, and if we think we do, if we think we have long to live, then that's a deception from the shaitan, that we've been tricked, so that we waste time, that we don't waste our own time, and don't let anybody else waste our time, because there are people who don't mind wasting your time.
I can't hear him. You talking?
I don't know what he's talking about.
How do we avoid that line, that thin line between, mentioning the blessing of Allah and staying away from the riyah? And that's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is the opposite true? Can we refrain from saying something and that becomes riyah? Oh, no, I don't tell nobody.
Yeah. There's narrations from the Salaf saying exactly that. That this all goes back to the aliyah. If you teach the person, you tell them, I'm going to do this because I know that sometimes people need to hear it. They might want to ask you, but they don't want to be rude. Do you do that? You saying all that, but do you do it? So they might not ever ask you, but they might need to hear that in order to push them a little harder. Right? But it all goes back to your intention. Are you trying to show off? It don't matter what nobody else thinks you're trying to do. Somebody might walk by and hear you telling something. They might think you're showing off, but it's between you and Allah. The niyyah, the intention is here. It's between you and Allah. And there are narrations where the Salaf says even leaving off of action is from riyah also. There are narrations that leaving off of action is also from a form of showing off. Wallahu a'lam.
If you say that a person isn't himself, waste of time, some people don't go to this man, they go to that man, they
Confusing them? Well, if people, they tell them don't go to this match, don't go to that match, that's on them. As long as people listen, it's going to continue to be like that. As long as people don't learn, they're going to continue following, like, as they say, cattle. They're going to be like animals. Somebody grab your neck and steer you wherever they want to go because you don't know what you're talking. You don't learn. If you don't learn, you're going to continue to be in life. That's why you can go to a mechanic, he know all of the stuff, you know absolutely nothing, and then what? When he says $1,000, you think you're getting over on him. You don't know until you learn, until you sit, learn, give importance to learning, give importance to, the Quran, and give importance to a person who does that and learns. They're going to continue to be at the mercy of another person who is just as ignorant as they are. But they sound better. They've been around longer. They got the dress. They look good. They know the words to say. But they just as ignorant as they are. Or maybe worse. Until people learn and give importance to learning, it's not, it's not, as he says, osmosis. I'm like going to wake up tomorrow just with a bunch of information. That's why I follow it. Learning is not something that everybody does. It's not easy. It takes patience. Week, year. Yeah, it takes a long time. It's not something that everybody does. And that's why some of the Salaf used to say, if you can't be from the people who sit and learn like that, then you should love them. If you're not able to do it, then you should love them people who will sacrifice to go sit. But until people give importance to learning, they're going to continue to be cattle. People tell you what to do, what not to do, and you're totally confused until people learn. And part of that is what we used to. We come up and we're not used to. It wasn't decent to be the smartest person. We didn't take pride in being at the top of the class. Did you? I already know. None of it. That wasn't the norm. That was something that we took pride in, being the best student in the class. So a lot of us will hide the fact that we were sharper than everybody else. Because I don't want everybody to know I'm sharp. So I'm going to act like I don't know, I'm not going to do my best. That's what a lot of us come from that. So it's stagnated our growth. And Islamically, that's not something that's praiseworthy. It's not something that we should be proud of that we don't know. Or there's people, I'm a layman, like that's something decent to be saying. I'm just a layman, I'm a layman. Like, that's not something to be, it is what it is. You know what you know and you worship Allah on that. If you read a lot of biographies of the worshipers, they're bad. The people that were bad worshipers, not all of them were ulama. They were not all scholars. But they worshiped Allah based on the knowledge they had. They worshiped Allah based on what they had. So until people are learn, and once you learn the basics, as Sheikh Muhammad used to tell us all the time, if you teach people the fundamentals, they're going to be able to see through all the crap, basically. If you teach people the fundamentals, they're going to be able to see everything that's not from Islam. What's Quran, what's Sunnah. If they learn the basics, all the rest of the stuff will be easier to detect. But if you don't know the basics, it's just sporadic. You're all over the place. It's always confusion. And Allahu A'lam, it's going to continue to be confusion until people give some type of importance to learning. We'll stop there, but I wanted to mention one thing, that when we went to, not Virginia, Maryland the other day, and this is just my personal opinion, people, federal, specifically posts who we went to school with, he's busy. Busy. I mean, I wish people would have went to see it. If you go and see it, he's busy. He's not dealing with the mess that we dealing with. Pray where, people barely praying. You tell them don't go pray somewhere. They barely praying. Barely. Going to the masjid to pray. You gonna tell them don't go pray there? They barely praying. But when you're busy with stuff, he hits, I mean, mashallah, he's busy. He's busy. What is Islam? What is God in Islam? Jesus, the ports of the sun. It's not wasting time. They busy. And you, not just federal, people outside of federal. It's people busy. And we need to be busy instead of worrying about the nonsense that's been there for the past 10 years. And for some people, they're going to be there for the next 10 years. But one thing's for sure, two things for certain. We don't have 10 years. So we don't have time to waste. And hopefully, we read these narrations and we take some benefit from them. And if we need to, we change our lives and try to do something more constructive. As Sheikh, what was his name? Sheikh Hassan al-Bukhari told you, how much time you got left. If you're 40, how much time you got left? Realistically. Most people don't live to be 100. Most people don't live to be 90. Most people don't live to be 80. So how much time, if you're 40, do you really got left? 70? If Allah spares you with good health, maybe. Maybe. We don't have time. And if we let people waste our time, then we got to stand before Allah with that. We don't have time. And if when we read these narrations, inshallah, we're going to see how the Salaf looked at it, and they weren't people who wasted time, and they weren't people who just talk. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.